You know that moment when you look in the mirror and something feels off? Not your face, not your outfit, but somehow you look tired, washed out, older than you felt just yesterday morning. Here's what nobody's telling you. It might not be age at all. It could be your hair color working against you instead of with you. After 60, your skin goes through some pretty dramatic changes that most of us never see coming. The color that made you look radiant at 45? It might be adding a full decade to your face right now. And it's not your fault nobody warned us that our skin chemistry would shift this much. I'm going to share 5 specific hair color mistakes that even the most stylish women over 60 make without realizing it. But more importantly, I'll show you exactly what's happening beneath the surface and how to work with your evolved beauty instead of against it. Because here's the thing, aging isn't about hiding who you are. It's about understanding who you're becoming and making choices that celebrate that journey. By the end of this video, you'll understand why certain colors that once flattered you now feel completely wrong. And you'll have a clear roadmap for colors that will make people notice your confidence, not your age. So, what's actually happening to our skin and hair after 60? Let me break this down in a way that actually makes sense. First, there's this thing called melanin, the pigment that gives our hair its color. Starting around age 30, we lose about 10 to 20% of our melanin production every decade. But here's the twist nobody talks about. While we're losing some melanin, another type called dihydroxymelanin actually increases. This makes our natural hair appear darker and sometimes ashier than it used to be. Meanwhile, our skin is going through its own transformation. The warm, rosy undertones that many of us had in our younger years, they gradually cool down. Our skin loses some of that natural rosiness and becomes more delicate in appearance. It's not aging, it's evolution. But here's where it gets really interesting from a cultural and psychological standpoint. In American beauty culture, hair color has always carried deep meaning about identity and confidence. Think about it, we've had decades of blonde ambition representing youth and vitality, popularized by icons like Marilyn Monroe and reinforced by Hollywood. In the 1950s, only about 7% of American women dyed their hair, but by 2015, that number had jumped to 70%. That's how deeply color became woven into our sense of self. What's fascinating is how these cultural associations shaped our beauty choices. In traditional American beauty standards, lighter hair often symbolized youth and approachability. Think of the classic girl next door ideal. Darker hair was associated with sophistication and intelligence, while red hair represented boldness and uniqueness. These weren't just superficial trends. They became part of how we express our personalities and navigate social situations. The problem is, we're often stuck choosing colors based on these outdated cultural messages or what worked for us decades ago. We end up fighting against our natural evolution instead of working with it. Think of it like trying to wear the exact same makeup you wore in your 20s. Your face has changed. Your skin tone has evolved. But you're still applying color as if nothing has shifted. When we understand what's actually happening biologically and culturally, we can make choices that honor both who we were and who we're becoming. Choices that celebrate the confidence that comes with experience, rather than trying to recreate a younger version of ourselves. Your hair color challenges aren't about aging, they're about understanding what's changed and adapting beautifully to your evolved American beauty. Before we dive into these 5 mistakes, I'm curious, what's your current hair color situation? Are you feeling confident and radiant, or has something started feeling not quite right? Drop a comment below and let me know where you are in your hair color journey. And if you're getting value from this, a quick tap on that subscribe button means the world to me. It tells me you want more content like this. And honestly, it helps other women find these insights too. Now, let's dive into these 5 specific mistakes that could be aging you without you even realizing it. Here's something most people completely miss about jet black hair after 60, and this might surprise you. There are 2 types of women I see trying to pull off jet black hair. One group looks striking and elegant. The other group looks like they're wearing a wig that doesn't quite belong to them. The difference? They understand that jet black interacts completely differently with mature skin than it does with younger skin. Here's what's happening. As our skin becomes more delicate and loses some of that natural rosiness, jet black creates what colorists call a harsh contrast. Instead of framing your face beautifully, it can actually emphasize every line and shadow, making them appear deeper and more pronounced. But, and this is important, this doesn't mean you have to abandon dark hair if that's who you are. In many cultures, black hair represents strength, wisdom, and vitality. The key is understanding that black doesn't have to mean flat black. What works instead? Think warm espresso or soft black with subtle dimension. You're not going lighter, you're going warmer and adding depth. Here's a practical tip you can use right away. If you're coloring at home, look for blacks with names like warm black, espresso, or soft black instead of jet black or natural black. The difference might seem small, but the warmth makes all the difference. And here's a budget hack that works beautifully. Ask your colorist for face framing highlights in a warm brown tone. You keep the drama of dark hair, but you soften the contrast around your face where it matters most. If you're doing this at home, you can add warmth with a color depositing shampoo in a warm brown tone once a week. The goal isn't to look like someone else, it's to look like the most radiant version of yourself. Strength doesn't require harshness. Soften your black with warmth for elegance that honors your natural beauty. Now, this next one might ruffle some feathers, but stick with me. Platinum blonde can be absolutely stunning on mature women, but only when it's done with a complete understanding of how light reflects off aging skin. Here's the science part that changes everything. As our skin becomes more delicate and loses some of its natural warmth, platinum can create what I call the washing machine effect. It literally washes the color right out of your face. But here's what's fascinating. This isn't true for everyone. Some women over 60 look absolutely luminous in platinum. The difference comes down to understanding your specific undertones and how they've evolved. If your skin has cool undertones and good contrast, platinum can be magnificent. But if you've always had warm undertones, or if your skin has become more delicate, platinum can make you disappear into your hair color. What works instead? Think butter blonde, champagne blonde, or what colorists call lived-in blonde. These shades give you that light, bright feeling without the icy effect. Here's a mix and match approach that works beautifully. Combine your lighter pieces with some deeper lowlights in a warm honey or caramel tone. This creates dimension that makes thin hair look fuller and gives your whole look more depth. For personalized advice, here's a quick test. Hold a piece of white paper and a piece of cream-colored paper next to your face in natural light. If the cream looks better, warm blondes will be more flattering than cool platinum. And here's a scenario-based approach. If you work in a corporate environment, you might go slightly more polished with your blonde tones. If you're retired and having fun with your style, you can play with more creative, warm highlights. Budget-wise, you can maintain warm blonde tones at home with a purple shampoo only once a week, instead of every wash. This prevents overtoning that can make blonde look ashy. Light hair should illuminate your face, not eliminate your natural warmth. Choose blonde tones that bring out your glow, not wash it away. What I'm about to share might seem counterintuitive at first, especially if you've been told that ash tones are sophisticated. This next part changed everything for me when I understood it. Ash brown and cool-toned hair colors can literally make you disappear. Here's the thing about ash tones, they're essentially browns with gray undertones. When you put gray undertones in your hair and your skin is naturally becoming cooler and more delicate, you create what traditional color theory calls a monotone effect. Everything blends together in a way that lacks vibrancy. In traditional color medicine, and this is really interesting, warm tones in hair were believed to reflect inner fire and vitality. Cool tones, while beautiful, were associated with calmness and sometimes even tiredness. Modern color psychology backs this up. When we see warm tones, our brain interprets them as energetic and youthful. When we see too many cool tones together, especially in hair and skin, our eye reads it as flat. But let's be practical about this. If you love your brown hair and don't want to go dramatically different, you don't have to. The solution is adding warmth, not changing everything. Here's what works. Ask for golden or amber undertones to be added to your existing brown. You're not going lighter, you're just adding warmth that brings your hair to life. A practical tip for at-home maintenance. Use a color depositing conditioner in a warm brown tone once a week. This gradually adds warmth without commitment. Here's a do and don't that's important. Do enhance your natural brown with warm undertones. Don't try to go from ash brown to golden blonde in one session. That's a recipe for damaged hair and disappointment. And here's something from traditional perspectives that I find beautiful. In many cultures, warm brown hair represents earth energy and groundedness qualities that become even more beautiful as we mature. The goal is hair color that has what I call a pulse. It's alive, it has movement, it catches light in a way that brings energy to your whole face. Your hair color should have a pulse. Add warmth to bring flat, ashy tones to life and create energy around your face. Now here's where things get really interesting, and this might surprise you. Golden blonde sounds warm and beautiful, right? And it can be, but not always in the way you'd expect. There are two ways golden blonde can work on mature skin, and understanding the difference will save you from that brassy nightmare that makes you want to hide under a hat. Here's the chemistry part. Golden tones contain yellow and orange pigments. When these pigments interact with skin that has pink or red undertones, which many of us develop more of as we age, they can clash in a way that creates that dreaded brassy effect. But here's what's culturally fascinating. In many traditional societies, golden hair was associated with divine beauty and harvest abundance. The problem isn't the concept of golden hair, it's when the golden tones fight with your natural coloring instead of harmonizing with it. What works instead? Think champagne blonde, or what colorists call beige blonde. These give you lightness and warmth without the aggressive yellow that can turn brassy. Here's a scenario-based approach that works well. If you're someone who spends time outdoors, your hair will naturally pick up golden tones from the Sunday. In this case, you want to start with a more neutral base so the sun can add the warmth naturally. If you're mostly indoors, you can handle slightly more warmth in your base color because it won't get amplified by sun exposure. For mix and match success, combine your lighter golden pieces with some cooler lowlights. This creates balance and prevents the all-over brassy effect. Here's a cultural note that I find empowering. Traditional meanings of golden hair across societies often emphasized inner light and wisdom qualities that are absolutely appropriate and beautiful for women over 60. Budget hack. Use a toning shampoo, but only once a week, and rinse with cool water. Overtoning is often what makes golden blonde look flat and lifeless. The goal is creating golden tones that enhance your natural warmth rather than competing with your skin's undertones. True radiance comes from harmony, not just brightness. Choose golden tones that work with your skin, not against it. This last mistake is the sneaky one that even experienced women miss, and it's probably the most fixable. Single-process dark colors, that's colorists speak for flat, one-dimensional dark hair, can make thinning hair look even thinner and drain the life right out of your complexion. Here's the hair aging science that explains why. As we age, our hair naturally loses some of its density. When you put a flat, single color on hair that's already lost some volume, you emphasize the thinness instead of creating the illusion of fullness. But there's something from traditional health perspectives that's really beautiful here. In many traditional medicine systems, healthy hair was seen as having what they called living color, meaning it caught light, had movement, and seemed to have depth and vitality. Single-process color is the opposite of living color. It's flat, it doesn't catch light in interesting ways, and it can make your whole look feel one-dimensional. What works instead? Multi-dimensional color through highlights and lowlights. You're not going lighter necessarily, you're creating depth. Here's a practical approach. If you have dark hair, ask for lowlights that are one shade darker than your base, and highlights that are 2 shades lighter. This creates subtle dimension that makes hair look fuller and more alive. And here's a budget hack that works beautifully. You can create dimension at home with temporary color. Use a slightly lighter shade on just the top layer of your hair and around your face. It washes out gradually, so you can experiment without commitment. Do this. Focus dimension around your face where it creates the most impact. Don't worry about the back, nobody sees it anyway. Don't do this. Try to highlight your entire head at home. That's a job for professionals. Traditional health perspectives teach us that hair should reflect our inner vitality. Multidimensional color does exactly that. It creates movement, life, and energy. Depth and dimension are the secrets to youthful-looking hair. Add layers of color to create vitality and the illusion of fullness. Let me give you an easy way to remember everything we've covered today. Think of the word glow, because that's what we're really after, isn't it? Go warm, not cool. Whether you're blonde, brown, or black, warmth brings life to mature skin. Layer your color. Single process anything looks flat. Dimension creates vitality. Oppose, harsh contrasts. Jet black, icy platinum, anything that fights with your evolved skin tone. Work with your undertones. They've changed since you were 40, and your hair color needs to change with them. When you follow the glow method, you're not hiding your age, you're optimizing your beauty for who you are right now. Remember, the goal isn't to look 30 again. The goal is to look like the most radiant, confident version of your current self. Your hair should tell the story of a woman who's lived fully, learned deeply, and isn't afraid to shine. Remember glow. Go warm, layer color, oppose harsh contrasts, work with your undertones. This framework will guide every hair color decision you make. Here's what I want you to remember above everything else. Your beauty isn't fading, it's evolving. At 60 and beyond, you've earned the right to feel absolutely radiant. You've raised families, built careers, weathered storms, and gained wisdom that no 30-year-old possesses. Your hair color should celebrate that journey, not hide it. The women who look most stunning at our age aren't the ones trying to recreate their 40-year-old selves. They're the ones who understand that beauty has seasons, and this season has its own unique gifts. Your silver threads are evidence of wisdom earned. Your laugh lines are proof of joy lived. And the right hair color? It's the frame that brings all of that together in a way that makes people see your light first, not your age. If this resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe. I create content specifically for women who believe that our best years don't have to be behind us. Every week, I share insights about aging beautifully, authentically, and unapologetically. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these hit closest to home for you. Type dark if you're dealing with harsh black hair or flat single-color browns that feel too heavy. Type light if you're struggling with brassy blondes, washed-out platinum, or ash tones that make you disappear. I read every single comment, and I love seeing which struggles we all share. It helps me create content that truly serves you. Remember, you're not getting older, you're getting bolder.